Well, it's 6 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order and begin with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that we gather on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically Nooksack and Lummi tribes who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin throughout the San Juan Islands and the North Cascades watershed from time immemorial. On behalf of everyone here, we want to express our deepest respect and gratitude for our Indigenous neighbors, the Nooksack and Lummi tribes, for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. Next up is the
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. So we have any changes to the agenda as written? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Motion to approve agenda is written. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the minutes should reflect that Ed is present via Zoom. Good, the order.
Okay. So just a few things, because it is kind of quiet during the summer time around here, but we do have our summer food program going on both at Kendall and Acme and then here at the Deming campus. That's happening on Tuesdays. And Shannon Richardson, our food service director and operations director, said that it's going really well. They've served about 350 children in our community. And so it doesn't just need to be students who are enrolled as students, but just students who live within our district boundaries between the ages of 0 to 18. And the feedback they're getting is that families are incredibly appreciative, and it's really helping with the price of groceries and the like. So it's that's been going really, really well. And then Ian Linterman, our special services director, said that the extended year program, or ESY, has been going on. If you head out here, you'll see some chalk drawings and different things that the kids been doing, but there's about 22 students who are participating in that this month. That's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Information from audience. Anybody signed up, Tammy?
Nope. Not tonight.
There's a big chance. Okay. It's like no one's here. Reports and information, superintendent report.
Okay. So I have just a couple things. I want to start off with, I don't know if you've noticed because the sun hasn't gone down yet, but if you check out the 800 building on the side, they've installed some of the new lights, and that was a board approved project. And so that's finally coming to reality. The other thing that I just want to give the board a heads up about, because we got this quote just today. We want to replace the blinds in the 800 windows because one, they don't look very good. They're not doing a very effective job of blocking light and heat. And so regardless of what we end up doing in terms of replacing the actual windows, these blinds would last the addition of new windows. And that's something that we can do now. So we got the quote, it came in from about $29,000 to put in new blinds that would be reflective and help with some of our energy maintenance in that building. They say that they can get them installed within 4 weeks. So we could get that done before school starts. The problem is I can't get the PO to you for board approval until the next board meeting, and we'll need to go forward with that purchase prior to that time. So I'm giving you a heads up that we're gonna go ahead and do that, but you'll see that purchase order there, and it will be of great benefit, I believe, to our students getting started in that heat in August.
I think that makes sense.
Any questions, Ed?
No, I mean, as long as it doesn't reduce our projected fund balance for this year and next year, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, we'll use capital projects for that, so that'll be, I
Okay.
think, a good use of that money.
Sure.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to share for superintendent's items is the draft school board calendar for the upcoming year. And so I'll just kind of talk through a little bit of what's here, and what I'm hoping is to get individual feedback from each of you over the next couple of weeks. So at the next board meeting, I can present to you the more final version. Some of the regular agenda items, in addition to things that are regularly in the consent agenda, will be a superintendent report every meeting. And what I want to do at that time is really focus on the strategic plan. What are the different pieces that we're talking about? If we're going to be making any changes, that's where you'll get those updates. I also want to have a teaching and learning report each meeting. So the first meeting in the month would be a teaching and learning report where myself, Bridget or Ian would be coming to you, or maybe some building principals would be coming to you with some information. And then at the second meeting of the month, like tonight is the finance report. And so we'll kind of go through that back and forth. And then we'll also be talking about some policy updates, getting those back onto the agenda of some regularities so we can get caught up on updates like that. Other than that, you'll see that and this is super rough draft thinking. So if there is, I'm very much inviting suggestions and changes, but I do want us to get out to the building sites with some regularity. And I chose Fridays for all of those because I believe that was some feedback I got from the board that those are the best days of the week for that. This might be too much. And if that's the case, I just need to hear that. But an opportunity to get to each building site at least once. And then right here at the beginning of the school year, September, October, also getting a chance to visit, taking one morning and getting to all of the elementary sites and another morning to getting all of the secondary sites. In addition to that, I'm going to be scheduling the principals and their leadership teams to be coming and doing presentations to the board on a regular basis as well. So you'll be seeing opportunity to see the work in person, and then an opportunity to hear from the people who are doing the work about what they're proud about and what they're working toward. There are other presentations and updates. I'm just kind of trying to pepper things throughout the year to keep the board up to date. You'll see highlighted there April 9th. That's during spring break. And so I wasn't sure how the board felt about having a board meeting during spring break, if we want to change that the following week, or take a look at your calendars, see what you have planned with families that week. And then you'll
usually avoided spring break.
Okay, so we might just eliminate that one altogether, because you'll notice in December and July, there's only one regular board meeting.
Yeah, sometimes we've shifted it and sometimes we avoided it, and the only issue is making sure we approve payroll in time for all those activities to happen. So leave that up to the staff, I guess.
So I'll check in with each of you about this. I want to give you time just to digest it. I know it's a lot of information.
Yeah. My only thought, I really like the teaching and learning, the finance. I think those are the two top priorities. That's awesome. My only thought was if it's worth it to keep the strategic plan categories as part of things that we're studying, even though we're going to be redoing it. It's,
Okay.
all that we have. And it might be worth it to, continue on incorporating, reviewing that until we have a new strategic plan. And hopefully that is part of our ongoing board meetings, but it might be nice to set aside some time. That I think the teaching, learning, and finance fits in well with that. Anyway, just my 2 cents.
Other agreement or?
I can see it going either way,
Yeah,
right? I could see us continuing on with the schedule, using the strategic plan we have in place, or I could see us using this year as a planning year, where we're using that time to do something in the building hub,
towards
the new strategic plan.
Yeah, because how long does it usually take to write a strategic plan?
In my last district, it took us 1.5 years,
Yeah.
but
So does that seem kind of like, is that kind of what you're talking about, Ed? Like looking at each spot, but that's the point of when we're writing it or reviewing it, or?
I was thinking to continue to include our current strategic plan, like in a counter, like how we had last year, and kind of breaking that down and how we're doing each of those categories. And then when we have a new strategic plan, continue on with time set aside to review that on an ongoing basis. Maybe there's another way to do that, but that was just my thought, to make sure that, we've got some time set aside for ongoing review of a strategic plan.
Well, that makes sense, because we are reviewing the strategic plan as we think our way through a new one. You get the broad categories like academics, and the activity under that broad category can be reviewing the strategic plan and working towards the next iteration. So it still falls within that broad category.
okay, I'll work that into the next draft.
Yeah, this is a good, really good. Have this all out and map out the year like this.
My question is, how do the school improvement plans fit into, will we see those before we go to each site, or?
My
all at
plan,
once?
I want to show you kind of a 1-page version of each one of them by the August 28th meeting.
Oh.
So they're the principals and their teams that started them this last spring, they're working on them over the summer. There's going to be a day where they're coming together again to revise them further before school starts. So I'll share with you what they've got by that time.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this is really lovely to see a snapshot and the coverage of the different schools and aspects of what we would want to see as a board. It's very thorough, and I appreciate that. I would say one thing, I noticed superintendent evaluation in January, which we usually do a midterm evaluation, but we also do a year end.
So for June.
So I think we typically do that in June.
And that, we need some planning on that, because we've been kind of all over the place on how, like, the formats that we've used, so I'd like to get
your
input on
feedback.
that.
Okay, what I'll do, because I know WASDA said they were developing something, and then WASA is also developing something, so I'll find what both of those organizations have put together and share it with you, and we can.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'd like you to know as soon as possible what we're going to be evaluating.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing with principals and directors right now, letting them know exactly what framework is going to be used, and
Yeah,
yes,
so there's no
no surprises.
Yeah, I mean, we've done the gamut of like everything. Remember, like Mary's were huge, and then the one we just did was just like a little bit of what are like finance and something else. What was the other one? But, so it wasn't the whole shebang, but whatever works. Yes, but
And I think it might be, as you pull those together, it'd be good for us to spend a little time looking over them kind of sooner than later, because normally we would have had, ongoing superintendent, we would have had last year's kind of running the first 6 months. And then that mid-year evaluation kind of touch bases, but for the mid-year evaluation, currently we don't really have any grounds that we're specifically evaluating on.
I'll have it to you, if not within the week, definitely before the next meeting.
And I would suggest that perhaps we use the entry plan as part of this first mid-cycle
Yeah.
evaluation, because you've laid out, right, your deliverables and your action items, and so we can check against that. Also to say, okay, yep, you've done what you said you were gonna do, we've already reviewed that document and agreed with like what's on there. So that could be a bridge to help
Okay.
us.
Good.
As we solidify a more ongoing evaluation rubric or criteria.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for superintendent items then.
And next up is the budget questions and answers. Thank you for getting the first form of that to us early.
Maybe pull that one back up here too.
Where do I have that?
So these were questions that came either out of the meeting 2 weeks ago or out of conversations or emails that I've had with individual board members. I think there are a couple questions even in there that came from one of our local reporters who was asking me some questions. So just trying to honor all those questions. But had the opportunity to, like, I know pay to play was something we were doing a little bit of research around this week. I talked with Coach Lepp and he said it's about 100 to 120 students that they were anticipating would have been paying that extra $50. So that's the $6,000 that you see there.
Yeah, that's good, because that gives us a concrete number based on our earlier conversations.
Yeah.
We have a feeling for how likely it is that we're going to revisit this again
Pay to
in
play.
the future. Yeah.
I would really take the board's lead on that. It doesn't sound like it's something the board is interested in pursuing, considering the burden that puts on the community. So we would need to.
Yeah.
It's something that I would try to avoid, but.
I'm not interested either. My only wonder is, since we put a lot of time and effort into figuring out the logistics and coordination with student body and the different programs, if it would be worth it to have a very small fee, like $5, just to get the gears working and understand how the money gets allocated, as opposed to doing nothing and then coming back a year or two from now and having to figure it all out again. I'm not saying we should do that. That's just when, save us time later on if I can.
Well, isn't the 6,000 would be or how does the ASB card fit into that?
How does this work?
How does the ASB card fit into that? So this 6,000 would be in addition to the,
Yes.
because that was the pay to
No,
play.
the ASB, so the ASB has several sources of funds. The largest is the gate receipt.
Right.
So
I'm
that's
just trying to figure out what the $5. So you're saying instead of like the pay to play $50, you just like a $5?
Yeah, right now the athletes are paying $50 to play sports per year.
Which is their
And,
ASB card.
Yes.
It's their ASB card. I guess maybe a couple extra people pay for ASB card because it gets them into free, but mainly it's the athletes that are paying for that card, which is a significant source of the income. So, and I guess that's part of my point, right? It's like, we seemed like we kind of had a plan or had it figured out. Maybe it wasn't fully flushed out, but if we have to come back to this, we're going to have to, figure all this out again, and who pays what and how much and how it gets divvied up between the different groups, athletes, the, performing arts and whatnot. But I don't know, that would be the only reason to have to move forward, just to flush it out now and get the bugs worked out rather than. But if we don't think we're going to need to do it again later, then maybe we just drop it.
Yeah, I really don't want to do it in other years either, in that
Mm-hmm.
when you consider the taxpayers are already paying just about $5 million a year, expecting that it covers our co-curricular. And for us to charge the kids on top of that and the families, I know, with 4 boys when I was growing up, my mom didn't have any extra money, and we wouldn't. She was too proud to apply. Would have been too proud to apply for free and reduced lunch, but she wouldn't have had the money for 4 of us to do pay to play. And so, and I think a lot of our families are in that situation. I've had hay customers that ask me, they buy $10 worth of hay and they ask me if they can pay next month. So it's, there are a lot of people who live right on the edge. I had a customer last year that got out their coins to finish their $25 payment, and half of the payment was coins they found out in their piggy bank. And I think we have to remember that. But anyway.
Okay.
But it's I think we can, communicate. So assuming we pass the budget, then we should be able to communicate to the high school and to the ASB, and then specifically, I'd like to communicate to Emily and make sure that the message gets back to the students that attended our meeting, because I think they really made a good case and helped us understand the issues a lot better. And I think it would be nice to let them know that that we've been thinking about it ever since they met with us.
Sure.
Any chance to give students a sense of empowerment, I think we're ahead.
Yeah, I'll make sure that it gets to them.
Okay.
So any further questions on the question and answer? I think all of us have read the question and answer that's presented. And do you have anything else that, or any things you'd like to clarify from that?
Do we know the kindergartners at 63? Is that like on pace from last year at this time? I mean, we know we get a lot more kids in August, but like as a July number, would that be good?
Yeah, I had that same question, and I'm not quite sure, just being new and not being able to access that information, but that's at the top of my list, because kinders are our bread and butter in terms of driving enrollment. So when we get people back into the buildings and I can run some reports from years past, what I want to find out is if it's not on pace, we've got to start turning over some rocks and finding some more kindergartners and getting them enrolled. We do have that community back to school fair that's coming up, and that's going to be a really good opportunity. We're going to be doing some additional advertising for that, and encouraging people, if you haven't registered for kindergarten yet, now's the time, and just getting that message out.
There's the Kendall Summer Fest on August 1st or 2nd.
Okay.
That's it.
Was that the Sasquatch?
There's two. There's a separate one from the Bigfoot.
Yeah, the
Or
Bigfoot
Bigfoot,
festivals, they're both the same day, but Bigfoot festivals during the day, and then the Summer Fest is 4 to 8 at Kendall Elementary.
Okay.
And they've got food and the sheriffs will be there and all that, but a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Going on.
I guess
The-
one thought is, I know we have somewhat of a preschool program, but long-term strategic planning around anything we can do to increase pre-K support in our district. It's just more people that will end up in kindergarten
We are in
later
kind of
on.
a preschool desert in this part of the county, so any kind of, I know we have the co-op preschool.
Right.
But those options, I think, help families.
We've made little inroads from time to time, and we've gotten that close to a really good program a couple of times. One, it was just not getting a septic permit for a building right up the street here. And, but I think that's the feeder into kindergarten, as you say, as well as
Yeah.
serving our kids at that time when they really need it. When they're kind of diverging like that from home
Yeah, I
experience.
think we had kids at the preschool at the Lutheran church by the Nugent's Corner by the fire
Uh-huh.
department there. I don't know if they still do it or not, but obviously anything we can do to help support those different programs will just mean more students later on.
Brandon, did you have the date for the Bigfoot and Kendall?
It's like the first, I'm not gonna be in town, so but I think it's August
It's either the first or the second.
yeah, whatever that Saturday is. So, August 2nd.
Oh, yeah, I'm busy that day. Okay, I think. Any further your clarifications on the question and answers?
No, that was great.
No,
If not, I think we can go on to our public hearing and on the 2025-26 budget. And I will now open up a public hearing on the 2025-26 budget. And if anyone wants to speak on the budget. Not hearing or seeing anyone, I now close the hearing and begin and move on to action items. Mount Baker Resolution 24-25-25, which is adoption of the 25-26 budget. We should have thrown another resolution in there, so this was the 24-25-26 resolution. You gotta think through these things. So I'll let you start this out, Jessica.
Okay, so we have not made any changes to the budget since the presentation 2 weeks ago. And that said, I think it's important to remember that a budget is a tool and it's our best guess at this moment in time in terms of where we think we're going to be. Gaetana and Alina, our consultant who we're working with, they're spending a lot of their time looking at the 24-25 budget, just doing a lot of the year-end closeout. We'll talk about that just in a little bit with the finance report. But we remain optimistic that the budget that you see before you tonight is a balanced budget, and it's going to help guide us as we make decisions for this coming school year.
Busy? Any else? So I would like, I asked you earlier if we could repeat the projected ending fund balances for 24-25 and 25-26, which I remember. I mean, I recognize that both are works in progress, but what both the current budget now as close as we can projects our ending fund balance this year, and then what this budget projects for next year.
So Tammy, if you would pull up the monthly finance report PDF that's on there. And then scroll to page 2. What I'm going to do in these monthly, or sorry, one page up there. And then to the binding conditions update. What I'm gonna do as we provide these monthly reports to you is make sure that there is a binding conditions update in there. And so what I added in, and this was an updated document from what was previously shared with you earlier this week, is that at this time, the projected ending fund balance for the 24-25 school year is just over 1.2 million. And the projected ending fund balance for the 25-26 school year is just over 1.3 million. Both of those projected balances meet what is in our binding conditions letter.
Great. Well, those are figures that we haven't seen for a while, and I think they're a relief for us to see numbers that are looking like that again, so. Ed, any further questions?
No, I mean, I think we're working real hard to increase that fund balance by 130K. I mean, it doesn't seem like that much, but if that meets the, you know, the conditions that, you know, the OSPI conditions that we got to meet, then that's fine. I guess I'm just hoping that we've got a little bit of padding or wiggle room built into the budget to make sure we hit that, because it seems pretty tight.
It is still very tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve Baker Board Resolution 24-25-25, the adoption of the 25-26 budget.
Motion to approve Mount Baker Board Resolution 24-25-25.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Okay, thank you very much. That's a lot of work behind this, and it's and I appreciate all that have gone in. You know, it's not just pulling together this budget, but the amount of work that's gone over the last couple of years to get us to the point where we can have a fund balance like this, and the degree at which all of the employees of Mount Baker School District pulled together to make that happen with, I would say, for how much we've had to do, relatively little friction, at least at this level. I mean, I know that there's tension over this and tension over that, but I think that people recognize and have pulled together in a way that serves the district as a whole and gets us headed in the right direction. So I appreciate that. So we're going next to the monthly finance report.
So this is a document that Hannah and I worked on together. Get that back up again so you can look at it while we're talking. Definitely a different format. I'm wanting this to be an informational tool, not only for the board, but also for the community that might be looking at just where we're at month to month. And so we were looking closely at what not only our full-time or our FTE or full-time enrollment is, but also starting to explain in more detail, you know, the difference between like when we're counting Running Start and Open Doors students and when we're not. Both of those programs are opportunities for students to get alternative learning, whether it's acceleration through Running Start, where they're trying to get some college credit, or Open Doors, which is more of a credit retrieval alternative high school setting. And I believe that even though, so they, like if you were to go to the OSPI website and just say, what is the enrollment in the Mount Baker School District? We're over 1,500 students. But when you take into account how many students are in our classrooms on a daily basis for their entire school day, that's why that number drops. We do get some money from Running Start and Open Doors, and both those programs are, if I'm not mistaken, they're run in almost every school district in the state. So it's not just a Mount Baker or a local thing. But I think, what was the percentage that we, about 7%?
That's the administrative fee.
Mostly, yeah, so we get a little bit, but you know, that money is also, for when students are in those programs, that money also goes to the organizations that serve them for those programs as well.
Did you get a chance to confirm that those students generate numbers for our local property tax lid?
I didn't, that's a really good question, and I'm gonna dig into that.
Yeah, I
a
wasn't
little bit more.
expecting you to finish that, I just.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at some point.
Yeah.
Cause I presume they do, but I've never really checked that.
Mhm.
And I'm not quite certain what I was just doing the math here. And what the lid is per student now, it's over 3,000, but I'm not sure precisely what it is.
Mhm. As we take a look at our general fund, we're almost at 100% of our school year. You'll notice that our revenues are not as high as they're only at 77%, and that has to do, the note there is about how the state adjusted how it's giving us money. So the portion that money that we normally would get in June, we didn't get like normal. But I believe the apportionment report just came out here in July.
Yes.
So that's looking back on track, so that they're gonna make good on everything that should be coming to us. It's just the timing of it was off a little bit. Because we are in a healthier spot financially than we've been, that didn't create havoc and being able to pay the bills. So we're still on track there. And
Yeah,
then the
that
next.
was my only concern when I saw that page one, is that our revenues were less than expenditures, but.
Right.
If it's because we only have 77% of our revenues and we're at 82% of our expenses, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That would happen.
Not a lot of changes to those other fund balances, but like I was mentioning before, like the purchase that we want to make for the blinds for the 800 building, that'll come out of capital projects. And then there's the binding conditions update. And then there's also the notice of budget extension. And while we don't have a lot of details for you on that tonight, Katana's working on that. Do you want to share anything just about kind of high level general about why we're needing the budget extension?
It's pretty typical that schools will need a budget extension. We have obviously spent more than we thought we were going to initially. The funds are available, so there is no concern there. I did look just this afternoon, and transportation vehicle fund. Part of the issue is that there are purchase orders that are open. So we're looking at those numbers. If we were to spend what we thought we might spend, we would be over our budget allocation. So as long as POs get closed out and the encumbrances go back to the funds that they're supposed to, the transportation vehicle fund looks like it might be okay, and we won't have to do an extension for that one. ASB is a little bit over, and then the debt service fund is over by $83, which is actually a bank fee that did not get accounted for. The issue with that is that we've already spent that money without doing a budget extension, which is not good. We should have done a budget extension back in October when that happened. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so we need to take care of it now. And then the general fund will be needing an extension as well. And we'll know as we close out June just a little bit more in the next week or so, we'll have a better idea on what those numbers will look like.
So, for budget extension, is it just like more time to report the budget, or is it, and who does the extension, who are you asking me for the extension?
It's more
SBI.
dollars. So
Asking for
we
extension.
budget, say we budget
Oh. okay.
$10,000 and
I'm
we
thinking like
spend
time.
$10,000.
Money.
$10,050.
Oh.
Just
okay.
what Tana was saying, if we're $83 over, we're $83 over. And so that's the extension is in order to, because we've,
You can't exceed more than you said you were going to
Right.
spend.
Right, okay.
Without,
The board has to reapprove the extended amount.
Okay, no, that makes, see, cause I was just thinking time, not money, so
Yeah.
now it makes sense, yeah.
no, it's just.
So like the budget that you just passed, you know, that was our best guess at a lot of those amounts.
Yes.
And so if sometime throughout the year, if we didn't, like, we need to make some adjustments, we would be coming and asking for a budget extension.
So if we get a windfall revenue and we use some or all of it, then we would generally need a budget extension.
I did ask about that question. If it's revenue, we don't need the extension
Right.
unless we end up spending more than what
Right,
we.
yeah, and that's what my point is,
Yeah.
it's not the revenue coming in, but it's the extension to spend money that you have sitting in the bank.
So a lot more detail on that's gonna be coming at the August 14th meeting. You won't be asked to actually approve those extensions until the August 28th. And then the next couple of pages are just some graphs showing some of the comparisons for enrollment there. So our enrollment has been above what has been budgeted. And then comparisons of the general fund balance over time as well compared to last year. So very similar patterns. And then a comparison of revenues to expenses. The final piece of the finance report, Katana, do you want to explain where this report comes from?
can't see that far and I don't have it in front of me, but this is a state report, the budget status report. This is what we are required to supply to OSPI and the ESD. And it shows our beginning balance, essentially, our expenditures and encumbrances, and then the remaining balance for each fund.
So we'll be attaching these to the finance report each month, so you can kind of track that over time
And this is what we use to calculate the extension, essentially. These are the numbers we're currently looking at.
I've probably asked in previous meetings, but why are positive numbers for our budget expressed as a loss? On the right, on the next to the last column to the right.
Can't see that far. So the budget starts on the left. The monthly expenditures are in the middle column there. The total expenditure for the year is the third column. And then encumbrances are the fourth, and then the balance is the difference between the actual expenditures and.
But the actual, in terms of the local tax revenue, say that top line, we budgeted 5,010,000.
Right, but
We actually
spent-
got in 5,040,000.
No, we
That's what we
spent,
spent.
we spent 5,040,000, so. that's
Okay,
negative.
I guess I'm reading that wrong, because I thought that's revenue
No,
that.
no,
that-
that's a different report. Well, it is revenue, I'm sorry.
It should be, so our local taxes, we thought we were gonna get
Yes,
5,010,000. We actually received 5,040,000.
correct.
And so, yeah, what puzzles me is why
Because
the
it's-
balance is expressed as a negative number.
Because it's revenue.
Negatives good as far as the
Revenue.
revenue goes. You wanna
Yes.
see.
Well, I'm sure it's done correctly in
Yeah.
the accounting. I look at it and I have a hard time making as much sense of it, because I always think of, you know, if I've got extra money, I should be better off not put it in parentheses.
Fair.
Okay. So that's all on the finance.
That's, yep, so, that's kind of what you should expect month to month as we go
Good.
on, and if there's any additional detail or any other ways that you want to see, the numbers represented, please let us know and we'll make those adjustments.
And I appreciated getting that in advance so we could read it before we came, so it's useful.
Well, one of our binding conditions, requirements is that anytime we're gonna send anything to the board, we have to send all of that information to the state and the ESD a week
Yeah.
ahead of time, so that keeps us very much on
Right,
our
good.
toes.
So, our meeting schedule, our next regular meeting's August 14th. I also wanted to mention there's a Van Zant Hall major remodel groundbreaking, even though it's not actual groundbreaking, the ceremony on August 1st at 12:30. And so, inviting the state representatives, state senator, Sharon Shoemake was instrumental in getting the funds for that, or getting a significant part of the funds for that. Paul Sidhu, the county executive, county parks director, and the mayor of Lower Van Zant, Jeff Margolis. So a good, it's a Friday, August 1st at 12:30. It's a good chance to
Yeah,
meet all of those
I'll put that
people
on my
in one
calendar.
place. And then I also would point out that Van Zant Hall is a former school, Mount Baker School District, and we retain reversionary rights on the property. If it were to not be used for a community hall, we've had that come up before the Hopewell, and we actually sold the property and made a lot more than certainly it originally cost in 1912 or whatever. So that's an opportunity. I'm hoping to fit in stopping by there. And as we mentioned, the Bigfoot Kendall Summerfest on August 2nd. Anything else that I forgot on meetings?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're down to executive session, and I think we're doing pretty good on time. I think we did just over 30 minutes one meeting, so this isn't our record, but it's close. So,
Are you guys gonna call me back on an iPhone for executive session or?
yeah, we have personnel
I'll call you.
issues, executive session, so I think what we'll do is, if you can, let's see, Tammy, should we close out this one and then just use the phone?
Yeah, that
Okay.
seems safer.
Yeah.
So Ed, if you,
How long?
let's see, who wants
I'll
to,
call him.
huh?
I'll call him.
Okay,
How much?
Okay, can you
So
guys
Brett-
huddle together so I can hear everybody?
Well, I was thinking if we have a newly recreated conference room in the back with a smaller table. If we go there, we'd be able to just sit around that a little bit better.
Good.
Perfect.
yeah, so we
Okay.
will and then what's the approximate time?
No more than 30 minutes
30?
at the most.
Okay, and then we will, with no decisions to be made after that.
We'll sign stuff, Ed, and then I'll call you, okay?
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Thank you.
Appreciate the public here on the budget.
Oh, where is it? Sure. I mean, we're just used to.
Okay, we'll do that.
That was good.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, Tina.
What?